Okay, so just lift the chest and lean back into the stick. So we don't want the stick to pull us forwards like this. And then just turn. Start gently. When I turn to the side and get to the end of my turn, I want the feeling that I'm sort of stretching elastic, I'm pulling something, and then it springs back and starts me going the other way. And then stretching here. So rather than contracting a muscle to its maximum and then bouncing out of that, I'm stretching a muscle to its maximum and springing back from that. Stretch, and it just recoils. And the same idea, but tipping side to side. Again, feel the side that's stretching. And then just let it spring back, which it will want to do, but we tend to inhibit it because we want to be under control. Stretch, and it pulls back. Okay, so let's just try some pressing up. Just pushing the stick up and then let it down in front of the face and then push it up again and let it down behind the head without pulling the head forwards. And now just pulling and pushing. A gentle pressure, pulling the two hands away from each other, trying to stretch the middle of the stick. And then just reverse it. So now the two hands are pushing towards each other. Pulling again. Just hold it long enough so that you can allow the strain to enter the body, especially the spine, and then push again. And then pull again, but now twist the hands as well. Twist them against each other. So twisting one way and then twisting the other. So we're introducing a turning action. And then pushing the hands together. And again, trying to twist the stick one way and then the other. Pulling, still twisting. And finally pushing, still twisting. Okay, good. Let's stand up. Mind in Dantian. Tai Chi is a martial art. So really it's about dealing with danger. And mind in Dantian is necessary if you don't want to freeze when danger appears. So you want to be able to either fight or flee. If you're in your head, then first of all, you won't see the danger until it's too late. And then secondly, you'll probably just freeze up in fright. The mind in Dantian is silent. It's a mind without words. If there are words in your mind, then it's not in your Dantian, it's in your head. And it's a natural place to be. It's a natural place for the mind to be. A mind that hasn't learned to be busy with itself and come up here will just naturally reside in the belly. It's your center of gravity. It's where your mass effectively collects. So the body is centered here, and I would like my mind to be centered there as well. And then my body and my mind are together. Okay, so now let's just breathe, but pulling the belly in. Breathing out, pulling my belly in, and then breathing in by just letting that go. Breathe out. And then just let it go. So I'm concentrating on the out breath. I'm concentrating on getting as empty as possible. And then I just release that and air will naturally come in. But I don't overdo the in-breath. But I really overdo the out-breath. What I'm trying to do is bring some flexibility into my lumbar spine. So here it feels as though I have a negative lordosis, as though my spine is curving like this rather than the other way. The lordosis in the lower back thrusts the energy from your legs up into your head. And we're just trying to bring it down into the belly. So we need to flatten out the lower back a little. So I pull my belly in, my Ming Men is pushing back. And then as I breathe in and let the belly out, the Ming Men pulls forwards. So a normal person in a normal posture, the Min Meng is the part of their lumbar spine that's most forwards. We just want to get some movement in it. So when I pull my belly in, now my Ming Men is the part of my lower back that sticks back the furthest. And I want to feel the part of the spine beneath the Min Meng. I want the feeling that that part of my spine is just blending into my legs. So the more I push the Ming Men back, the more the sacrum and the tail angle underneath and direct towards the knees. I breathe out, pull my belly in, push my Min Meng back, and allow my legs to pull me down. And then it reverses just for a little bit of relief. And again, sink. My legs are bending to pull my lower back into them. Okay, and now just riding horse. The feeling of riding horse is, it's a bit like crouching in the mouth of a cave. You're inside the cave, but you're looking out. So that's the sense of your whole body. It's become a cave that you're looking out of. But also there's like a little tiny you down here that's looking out of the cave of the Dantian. And feel the structure, the skeleton. So I have a spine that's made up of lots of vertebrae that are stacked onto my sacrum. The sacrum is our most important bone. And what it does, it splits the mass of my torso down into the two legs. So the one becomes two. And if I'm looking at it from the ground up, then it's where the two become one. So it's very important. And it's not a simple matter because something in me conceptually has to become two, as well as just feeling this split here. The ego is the one. It's the one me. Taoism is all about splitting into two. So it's the lower body that's most important because that's the two pieces. And I want the feeling that I am simply these two things that have just twined around each other for the duration of the torso. and have then reached out down the arms. And we have to feel how to relax the sacrum. Something in me has to let go so that I can just allow this weight just to split down the legs so that it's distributing as a flow rather than just this force. So it's relatively easy to feel gravity like a flow down through you. John used to say, imagine it's raining all the time. So imagine you're naked, you're outside and the rain's trickling down you. But then to feel that splitting down each leg, something in you just has to let go to allow it to happen. Otherwise, your two legs will just behave as one thing. A lot of the magic of the human body is that the fact that we're two sides, we're two people, two personalities, and they're playing all the time, or they should be. So that's the sacrum. Now, the Ming Men, which is associated with the Dantian is like the front, and the Ming Men is the spine, on the spine. The Ming Men is between L4 and L5, so it's one vertebra up from the sacrum. So it's a little bit higher than the sacrum. So what it actually corresponds to inside the body is where the descending aorta, the artery that comes out of the heart, the main artery that feeds the legs, is the point where that one aorta splits into the two hips and then the two legs. So again, it's where one becomes two, but it's the blood. And so very much to do with flowing and to do with pumping. So that's the Dantian. The Dantian is the point where the aorta bifurcates into the iliac arteries. And we just want to feel it. You know, if you're lying in bed with someone, then if they're agreeable, just really push your fingers into their navel and you will feel the aorta, you'll feel the pump, you'll feel their pulse. So just a little bit lower than that is where it splits into the two. So structurally, I'm splitting at the sacrum, but energetically, I'm splitting at the Dantian. And then the Dantian, it's also the place where we were connected to the mother through the umbilical cord. So the navel, but the navel and the Dantian are very much related. If you went into the navel and pushed inside, then it tends to take you down to the Dantian. So the Dantian and the navel are connected. The Dantian is like an internal point at that place where the artery bifurcates. And the navel is just where that comes out onto the surface. So we want to wake that up. We want to wake up the Dantian as a breathing center, not just abdominal breathing, allowing air to come into the lungs, but breathing from the mother and also from the earth. So that's the reverse breathing. So let's just do a little bit of that. So what happens there is I suck my belly in, but I breathe in at the same time rather than out, which is what we did before. And I imagine that there's a tube here and I'm sucking something from this other person. So I pull the belly in and I'm sucking into my belly. And then I breathe out and I squirt something down through that tube. And then back in, I'm sucking air into my lungs, but I'm sucking air from the mother and I'm sucking energy from the ground. So everything is being sucked into the dantian at that moment of pulling in the belly. Breathing in. If breathing in is a strain there, don't worry about it. Just have the visualization of sucking. You're using your belly to suck, like sucking a straw. You know, you pull your cheeks in to suck the juice off the straw. It's the same here. You suck your belly in to suck the energy from these different sources into it. Pulling the ground, not necessarily to get me down, but it does do that, but to suck something up through the feet, through the insteps, up the inside of the legs and into the belly. And then just settling into riding horse. And just feel the dantian, center of gravity, place where the energy splits, the descending energy of the aorta. Or you can think of the rising energy, so the blood coming up the legs through the veins. Those veins also connect together just behind the aorta, and then that main vein goes up into the heart. So the descending energy and the rising energy, they all come together or split at the dantian. And then it's your connection with the world, with the mother, you know, with your past, and with the earth, the Mother Earth. And now moving from side to side. So the way that we do, I stretch the leg and then I let it contract the same way as when we were twisting with the stick. So the leg straightens, which effectively stretches it, And then I just relax that and I will pull back. So it's hamstrings. When I straighten the leg, effectively I'm tightening this muscle here, and that stretches the hamstring. And then when I relax this muscle, the hamstring will recoil and pull back. So this is difficult. Activating the hamstrings is difficult because it requires the muscles to be worked and conditioned in a certain way. We never really use our hamstrings because we don't really need them. The hamstrings bend your legs, and gravity will do that for you. We want to make them really active. And again, that's got something to do with your past and your ancestry, and a lot to do with spirit. If you want to get the hamstrings working, you need spirit. You can't just give them an order and say work, which you can do with these muscles. So it stretches and pulls back. Feel the turn. So when I straighten the leg, I want it to turn me this way. And then when I release that and it starts to bend, it will pull me back. I want to feel the connection of my leg to the sacrum. So it's connected to the spine, so my back. And so if I can turn my back to its action, it will be able to extend just a little bit more. The same way, if we wanted to reach forwards and get maximum extension, you'd really turn away from the hand and look behind yourself. It's the same here. I'm really extending that leg. And then when I recoil it, it pulls me round. And we want to feel the twisting action inside the hamstring. That's the key, really, to getting it to activate and being able to use it. It sort of twists like this. All the muscles do, but you feel it especially here. If you don't get that, it just doesn't work properly. You don't want it to be like a muscle here. It's not like this bicep that's just basically got this lever action up and down, like a piston. This has got a real spiral in it, and then it spirals back. So it spirals one way when it stretches, and it just spirals back the other way when it recoils. Now, same thing, but just let it go. But I want to feel the same sort of action. So the twisting of the leg, it's really comes from a twisting of the feet on the ground. Similar to when we were working the stick, when we pull the stick, we tried to twist it like this. And that just gets more work into the stick, but also, because the stick isn't moving, more work into our own body. So when I'm doing an exercise like this, I want to feel it not as me having just sort of doing this turn like this, which is very mechanical, but of these two communicating legs working against each other. So something is squeezing up my body and out. It's like there's an ooze. So I have to be able to stay down. So when we're doing this and it all looks relaxed, we just want the feeling there's a lot going on in the legs. The legs are, as much as straightening and bending, they're twisting. And it's that twisting more than anything that gets the energy into the turn, gets the turn into the waist rather than simply the hips. And then going into this one. And just feel how completely different this is. This is now my straightening leg becoming my front leg. Previous one, my straightening leg was becoming my back leg. So this one seems to lack that twisty, wriggly power. So I have to really concentrate on the turning. I'm really turning around this spine. Because when I'm moving my weight like this and allowing my spine to move, I'm losing power in the turn. So I have to really feel the turn. And then back to riding horse. And now let's just go backwards and forwards. Full and empty. Energy coming up the leg into the opposite hand. Energy coming up the leg as my weight comes into it and into the opposite hand. And just feel the pathway. It's like the blood. Blood is coming up the leg through the vein into the Dan Chen, up into the heart, and then branching out through the artery that goes down this arm. The mind that focuses. Now let's try the other foot forwards. So let's just get it going as on the other side. And so once you've got it going, just bring the mind to the legs. So this leg is pulling to draw my weight into it to start it filling. It's pulling from the ground. It's pulling energy up into it. But now I want to feel this leg because this leg is now straightening. Because if it doesn't straighten fully, then it won't recoil. It won't spring back from that. And I'll have to do something to make it bend. I want it to bend naturally because it's straightened so much here. And then it just pulls back naturally and the energy starts coming up. And then I have to really straighten this leg so that I can just let that go through the recoil. So just focusing on the straightening of the leg is something we tend to overlook because we're so used to the work phase being the supporting bent phase. But actually the spirit is in the straightening. It's here, which then pulls back. It just springs back. So, and then it springs back. So like the elastic again, that I'm stretching and then it springs back. Now remember, it's that straightening leg that directs the energy, that makes sure the energy is going the direction you want, which is forwards. So this leg straightens, which pushes this hip back. Otherwise, if it doesn't straighten enough, then my energy will tend to come out here. You're always wanting to come back to riding horse where the feet are parallel, because that's like a low energy state. That's where you'll settle. So here I'm having to really work here, and then I pull it back. And again, as I pull back, I'll tend to turn this way, and then I have to straighten it again. And now just back up to riding horse. Feeling the dantian. It's my center of gravity. So there's a sense that there's like an attractive force here in your dantian that's gently pulling every cell in your body towards it. This is where you cohere from. We normally cohere from the ego. We have an idea about ourselves, which means we have a certain togetherness. But that very quickly falls away if ever you're put under stress. What we want stress to actually make us more together rather than less together. So there's a sense that you're just pulling here, and any stress that you feel will drive you even more into here. And it's the place where the blood that's coming down from the heart splits into the legs. So very much this, ugh. Something in me has to relax. Something in me has to let go to allow the blood to go down these two separate channels. I want to just become aware of everything. And then it's where I connect to the mother. So it's got memory. It's got memory of mothering and also memory of being in the womb. Now let's try a little bit of this one. I'm doing this with utmost care, but it's not a care that's holding back. It's a care that's really charged up. So the foot is coming up really slowly, which means that the other one that's going down has to go down equally slowly. So all the time I have equilibrium. They're always in balance. And feel the one that goes down. So this foot now is starting to go down. And then as it hits the ground, I just want to be able to release something from that descent, which will slip into the ground and come up here, bringing this heel off the ground. So I want the feeling that I'm uprooting the heel of one foot by allowing the other heel to dig into the ground and slip underneath it. If I can release something from this heel and let it into the ground, then I can similarly release here and let something out of my hand. So as the heel goes down, that's part of the figure of eight in the foot that goes around the heel. As my heel comes up, I'm going around the toes. So there's these two figures of eights inside each foot. And they just correspond to the figure of eight in the arm. So here I'm going around my heel of this foot. Here I'm going around the toes. So it's really difficult on the feet. So my feet have to be really controlling the ascent and the descent of the heels. So there's only a moment when this heel is on the ground. As soon as it starts coming up, they're both off the ground. So it's quite wobbly. It's always threatening to topple. So I have to keep my mind with the heel that's going down to keep me rooted. Otherwise, I'll tend to come up and fall forwards. And then just let it subside. So I become still, but it's there. I don't want my stillness to set and freeze and become solid. I'm always liquid. I'm always energy. And if I am solid, it's quite a springy solid, which will allow energy to go through it. So this figure of 8 is going on inside the 2 feet. The weight is moving over the feet all the time. As I'm going around the toes of one foot, I'm going around the heel of the other foot. So this waist, it's always wriggling. And the key to that really is just trying to stay as two combining to make one. So the two is always more important than the one. For the one, my sense of me is really just like an energetic resonance between the two sides of my body. It's like a mirage or an interference pattern. Okay, so let's finish with